Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. I am, as ever, your host, the Lore Runner, and welcome to Daylight Savings Time. For just get that out of the way for people wondering about the launch time here, because yeah, I think we can all agree Daylight Savings Time needs to just go away. Like can we agree to that? Is that cool? Good morning, everyone. So, really quick, Rax, please give me a one-off. I'll get you one specifically. I was spending part of the reason I'm like 2 minutes late is I was spending my incredibly small amount of spare time this morning organizing that. If you want, I'll give you a specific line, but that'll take me a minute to actually figure out which one I need you for. And I need Valerian to do a line too, but he sent me some, so I need to sort through those as well. They're right here. I got them in the folder. I just need to actually go through it. I'm gonna get this done. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Yeah, like we had almost the exact same problem here in the States, Valvatrix. Like there were about 2 years ago, there were congressmen pushing around the idea of getting rid of it, and what we did is instead we moved the date. I feel like that's an analogy for something. Anyways, before we go forwards, we do have something to debate, but I'm gonna go ahead and put some stuff up on the shelf because, well, we got through a couple games in the last week. I think that's actually a record. Even though I didn't beat one of the games, which I still feel kind of bad about, but at the same time, screw that game. We nevertheless managed to get through 9 games in that week. Which is just, yeah. So let's see. We got Classic Mega Man. That's an NES title. This is actually only our 3rd NES game that we've covered here so far. Mega Man 8, which is, of course, PlayStation 1. Put it down here with the X's. Mega Man Anniversary Collection, which is actually 1 through 8, I think. And that's a GameCube game, which goes way down here. There we go. Mega Man 2. I have to move the controller here. Move that up here. I think having a PlayStation 3 controller by the Switch games makes perfect sense, don't you? Mega Man 2. Mega Man 3. 4. Mega Man 5. Right, yes. And Mega Man 6. Yeah, that NES cubicle got a little bit more full there. Just a little bit. And this is actually... So, okay. You may notice a lot of these are custom whatchafigs, custom cases, and that's because in a lot of cases I haven't been able to either have the original case at all, because that's how buying used game works, or because the original case is damaged beyond repair. So this is technically a PS2 case, but it is a PS1 game, so I'll put it down here. Just kind of smashing through a couple of those there. Whew. Okay. But we do have a question. And I don't want to poll you per se, because this isn't a 1 or 2 question. It's more of a, what do you think kind of a question. We're almost done, Crazy Norse. We're almost done. I know Mega Man isn't everyone's thing. It's the same thing that happens every time we do any run, by the way. People just bow out because they're not interested in that franchise, which is totally understandable after all. Sakes, no! No! Oh yeah, we're definitely going to have like a few dedicated viewers for the FF14 block, and then that's it. Why, Imperial Star Destroyer? Why? Did you get my pictures, by the way, Rex? Well, thank you very, very much, Imperial Star Destroyer. I won't do the full minute-and-a-half bowing, but thank you very, very much. And the only reason I'm not bowing, for those of you wondering, is because he asked me not to. See, I hope you'd forgotten, Imperial Star Destroyer. Well, given how long that run's going to go, Valerian, I hope you're going to be there for at least some of it. I mean, I could zoom in more. You just go right back into the Amarot. I mean, that place that I totally don't know where it is. We have a question. It's kind of a hypothetical, philosophical question, because we recently reviewed Mega Man 7. Now, some of you in chat are probably like, okay, and the rest of you are like, wait a second, because we've already reviewed Mega Man 7. It was our first ever audit run. Now, we've hypotheticalized about audit runs before. In fact, it's something that we've already discussed back and forth as a group, and pretty much come to the conclusion that, yeah, no, we're okay with the idea, the concept, but this was our first actual audit run, which leaves us with the question, how do we actually execute that? Now, the long and the short of it is whether or not the original run remains. That's the summary there. Because we've got the original VOD, we've got the original review, and we've got the original rating. And all three of those things are things that are currently still existing. Now, hypothetically, we could just nuke those. They're gone. They're done. The end, right? It's kind of like how Eclectic just nuked my mind, again, by flinging too much money on me. 2018, I believe, Rex. It's been a bit. It wasn't one of our first reviews. That was Mega Man 11, by the way. But, yeah, it was I think our third classic run ever, because we did Super Metroid, Donkey Kong Country, and then Mega Man 7. But as we all know, anything older than 2 years old is just terrible and absolutely not worth saving, so I'm just going to delete everything at the 2-year mark, if that's okay with everyone. Thank you, Eclectic, very much, as always. I always appreciate that support. Thank you so much. You got to give me a moment, though. Oh, and just because I didn't say it out loud to acknowledge your thing, hang on. Go Story That's for Legend of Gaia, Mega Man Legends 1, Mega Man Legends 2, Mega Man Legends 2.5, Avatar The Last Airbender. There we go. Out loud acknowledgement, that I got it. But yeah, so remember, we have three separate things to account for here. We have to account for, no, Rex, whether or not we keep up the actual review, the text review, the edit on the spreadsheet, the review page, and the VOD. Now, the VOD is most likely to go away regardless of other things, not because I hate it, not because I don't want to, but because of YouTube. However, we already have a process in place in order to salvage that, and that's the archiving concept. So, I don't really need to ask about this one. The only question is, do you want me to straight up delete it? Because otherwise, it's getting archived. The end. Because of YouTube. There's no choice on this. So, that's going away. What do we do about the actual original review and the original line? These are the questions that I posit to you while I write down Eclectic's thing. That's right, we have the Loreweek of Archean Xandria. There we go. There's a tongue twister. By the way, Okami, Mario Sunshine, and Valheim Eclectic. No! So what we could do, we have all the options here. We have the option to bow before Pesnator. Thank you very, very much. Here, I'll talk while I'm bowing. We'll be efficient about it. Thank you, though, very, very much. So what we could do is we could simply edit the old... So what we could do... Hang on, let me walk that back. So we could take the table and just update it to say, this is the current review, and then leave the original Mega Man 7 review in the old page, which is untouched, but now nothing points to it. So the only way you could find it is if you go digging for it. That's option 1. Option 2, what we could do is we could go ahead and change the old review on the table to say old archive or something like that. You know, we'll come up with a term, and then, you know, just have the new one and have that pointing to the old review, which we also say old archive. Thank you again very much, Pesnator. Much appreciated. I'm putting that towards Invisible Ink, which is not Invisible War, because I'm an idiot. And Batman, the animated series. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, Chaotic Danny. Always appreciate those subs. I'll put that towards ARR. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, Crazy Norris. Just old, or new or whatever. You know, just make it nice and simple. But hang on, we could do a little bit of extra work, which wouldn't take that long. And what we could do is we could make a specific archive page on the website. Oh wait, we already have one. And so if you go to the website right now, I'll even do it with you. LoreRunner.com. If you hit the old archives button, what you see is it looks like a YouTube video. It's actually a playlist. And it's all the videos that have been archived that are now unlisted, but still available for viewing. And all of those are there either because they kind of need to go away or because I need to remove them from the search algorithm so that YouTube doesn't screw me over. Again, the YouTube problem. That's where the Mega Man 7 old video is going to go, right? I know, it's weird. I actually have a web page. Anyways, what we could do is we could put below the archive, below the video, put the old reviews. Any reviews that we end up auditing and replacing, we can then just archive the old review underneath that in the archive page. And so you'd see the video, and then you'd scroll down a little bit, and then you'd see the little, you know, the link to the games that are being archived in question. At the moment, there'd be 2. And then you could just see the old review right there. No, I mean, it's a meme for a reason, Crazy Norse, because I still get people who don't check the website to this very day. Or rather, to yesterday, I should say. Now, I'm fine with deleting the old review entirely as well. Because the only real reason for the old review to even exist is to show how it's changed, right? But I do understand several people are into historical saving for some reason. I don't know why. As a history geek, I have no idea why people care about the past. Oh, preservation. As someone who plays emulators all the time, very, very legally, I have no idea why people are interested in preservation of the past. This is weirdly offset, this camera. I'm not sure I like that. I wonder if I could turn it. That's actually an interesting question. Maybe I can turn it. Hang on, let's see if we can do that. We're on the new webcam, by the way, which will hopefully not cause us any issues. Because WTF. Oh, wrong direction. Wrong direction. Although we can do that. There we go. That's kind of nice. Let's do like here. And then let's kind of go. Well, see, that just looks offset. Because it is. Whoa, what's over there? Nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. Oh, there's a shark. Oh my god, there's a shark just to my right. I don't think that works. That looks terrible. Back to normal. History is important? What? No, no, no. I knew it, Hazardous. I knew it. Alright, so yeah, okay, so it sounds like we do have a little bit of cohesion. Archive the old review for historical preservation. Obviously, we're archiving the old video for the same reason. Sound good to everyone? Because I'm good with that. I'm good with that. What I could do is I could sit way over here. Whoop, too far, too far. Hang on. Right here, apparently. But now I'm, like, completely offset to everything. I have to reach over here to type and everything. And you're like, push this, move the keyboard over. No. I'm just gonna be offset. We'll do like we'll pretend it's on purpose. I'll do like a diagonal thing, you know. No chilled coffee? So, okay, yeah, no, I think that's good. I think that's good. So, other news. Words. I'm getting, yeah, it's the dramatic pose. Gotta pretend I'm my FF14 character here. Okay, Shadow Machine. I'll make a note here, because I need to send one to you and Rax, and I really am just kind of down to the wire on these. The only reason I can't do it willy-nilly is because... So, okay. The reason this has been so problematic... You mind if I talk about this for a bit? In the FF9 theater, there was a stretch of time across two separate chapters. It's Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. And I called it the Three Villages. And it sucked. It was the hardest part of the entire theater to complete. And I mean that with sincerity. Because it was just an entire city, village, of like 15 random characters. Most of them only had one line each. But you can't skip any of them. Or you shouldn't skip any of them. And then another village. And then another village. And just the three of these were pretty much back to back. And it was this nightmare to slog through. It was one of the biggest hurdles to get the whole theater done by far. In the current theater, which is Undertale, I don't mind giving that away, well, I'm running into the same problem with what I call the Chapter 5 narration. Now, for those of you not aware, and there's a section in Undertale where I think something like 40 separate characters give a narration of the backstory of the setting. However, each character has like one line each. So I need 40 people, or 40 takes, of these one-off lines. And they need to have a flow to them. They need to be conducive, and because obviously I don't have 40 actors, I need to try and separate the people who are doing repeat lines so they aren't sounding right next to each other. So you don't hear, one person saying this line, and then another person saying this line, and so forth and so on. And yes, I did Dream Whisperer. I actually already assigned one of them to you. I forget which. But my point is, this is why I can't just plink out people all willy-nilly, because I need to look at exactly where that line is. I have to actually have the video up. I have to actually have the existing audio and decide, based on who is already doing the adjacent lines, who should do that line. Does that make sense? So it takes a lot more organization, a lot more categorizing, and a lot more frustration than anything else in the whole game to do. It's my 3 villages all over again. The frickin' Chapter 5. Oh my god. Exactly, Hazardous, exactly. And it's been a nightmare to do this whole section. It's just been an absolute nightmare. And it's what we're stuck on. Everything else is done. Except for one bit of lines from a character. I'm probably just going to reassign them. But it's everything else is done. Once that's done, I could start the polishing passes and the auditing pass, and then the mastering pass, which is the final pass. Putting it in a master thing. But I can't start any of that. Honestly, Evo, with the advantage of hindsight, what I wish I had done is selected 3 people, because there's a consistent pattern. Someone to the left, someone to the middle, someone to the right? And just assigned all of the left people to one actor, all the middle people to someone else, and all the right people to someone else. And that way we'd still have multiple actors doing the lines, but it would have been a lot less of a frustration hassle than what I'm going through. This, to answer Valerian's question, is why I didn't start the theater with FF6. And if you don't mind, I'm going to actually ask Valerian's question on camera, because it's a good question. And it's actually very helpful. Hi, Mr. Basil Pesto. Yeah, we're coming up. Don't let me forget to talk about the beard, by the way, because someone asked a question about that, too. So Valerian asked me a question. He says, why didn't you just jump into FF6? I'm trying to find the actual question here so I can respond to it directly. Scrolled up. There it is. Okay, so he asked, and I quote, why an FF9 theater and not an FF6 theater, given your mega love for FF6? Now, that is actually a good question. I actually had talked about this before, but I thought I'd talk about it here because more people tend to see Loreweek than not. The reason is I like to build up to stuff. That's just generally my approach, and if I'm doing anything creative of any kind, I don't start with the thing I want to make. I start with the thing I want to learn, right? Suikoden is actually a real-life example of what I like to do. They made Suikoden 1 to learn how to make a game so that they could make Suikoden 2, which was the game they always wanted to make, right? Similar concept. Yeah, you guys already get it. I wanted to build up knowledge, exploration, understanding, getting used to being a director, which is kind of a new thing to me, honestly. I've got some experience with that now. I feel a little bit better by it. Becoming an editor, I've had to do a lot of audio editing, a lot of sound design. I've had to understand how games render text. This is something I didn't really understand prior to literally going through these games at a frame-by-frame level, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, exactly, Haz. That's a great way to put that. You don't learn to drive on a busy street. You don't take the highway test your first day of driving, right? Do you remember the highway test? I remember my highway test, and I happened to be doing that on a very busy highway. It was I think it's I-70 specifically, if you happen to know that particular highway. And yeah, that was fun. Yeah, now Raskor does mention the other thing. Oh god. Yeah, 80 is just about as bad. I've actually driven on the 80 and woo. Really, Valerian? Which is funny because Highway 5 is pretty terrible too. But anyways, I've driven on Highway 5. But yeah, that's the long and the short answer is why we started with Paper Mario 2. Paper Mario 2 was a brilliant, perfect encapsulation of what I wanted to do with the theater. It's literally split into chapters. Most characters only have lines within their chapter, and then it moves on to the next chapter where we have another bundle of characters, and then another bundle of characters, and the only caveat was almost everyone had a line in the last chapter, and that was actually a bit of a hassle back in the day to make that work. So, you know, whoosh. And then we did FF9, which was a mistake. I've said this before. The reason we jumped into FF9 was because nobody wanted to do lines for Paper Mario 2. Because who cares about Paper Mario 2? I mean, it's not exactly a good, incredible, one of the best games I've ever reviewed and one of the best RPGs I've ever played. No. Who cares about that? It's got Mario on the title, therefore it's terrible. Yes, I'm kind of making fun of people, but please understand that some of that making fun of comes from frustration, because nobody wanted to do any lines. And the dialogue I kept hearing over and over was, well, I would have helped you out with the voice acting, but it was Paper Mario 2. Maybe if it was a game I was actually interested in, and I'm just like, okay. So we did FF9, which is a game everyone was interested in. FF9 was definitely jumping into the fire. This was my second test, was going on to Highway 5. To completely ignore everything I just said. Just... Oh my god. And let's be honest with ourselves. I almost did... I've said this before. I almost didn't finish the FF9 theater. Right around Chapter 5. There was a long gap of almost a year of no progress being done on the theater at all. And no updates and no nothing. And I almost quit the project. I'm glad I didn't. I'm very glad I didn't. But we almost put it down because FF9 was just... But I learned a lot. I have learned so much about it. I feel so much more comfortable. Everything we've done walking into the next theater, which is Undertale, it's been so much smoother of a process. Honestly, if not for the Chapter 5 aggravation, the Undertale theater would already be done. Because it's just been that much better and smoother of a process, because I know what I'm doing a whole lot better, and so do several of our actors, who are people who are recurring from FF9 as well. The theater we do after Undertale, which I keep being quiet about because I know exactly what it is and I know exactly how I'm doing it, is going to be a little bit more low tier, just because I need something a little bit lower stress level. There's a lot of things I'd love to do theaters of. I'd love to do a theater of Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy IV, Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy VI, maybe 7. That's something that's been shopped around a bit. We've thought about that. I would love to do a theater for Twilight Princess, Zelda Twilight Princess. I would absolutely adore doing a theater for Twilight Princess. There's a couple other things that have been workshopped around, but I need something a little bit low tier for my next project, especially since the Trek rewrite is actually officially taken off, and you get it. So, we're going to go ahead and pull it down a little bit for our next one, and we'll see how that one goes. Now, someone asked about the beard. If you don't mind my saying something really quick, because several people have been wondering why my beard looks weird. Because you can kind of see right now, you can see my neck clearly through the beard right here, right? It's kind of translucent. That's because this is thin. You see? So I actually don't have a neck beard, and I can prove that. I actually shave my beard all the way up to the jawline. So this is more or less literally just the same chin strap I've always had, just extended. And that's why it looks kind of weird, if anybody's ever been wondering about that, because I've gotten that question several times. If you want to get into Final Fantasy, Mr. Basil Pesto, and it's the first one you're going to play, I highly recommend Final Fantasy IV, specifically the Steam version. That is the version that I think is the most seminal Final Fantasy, and it's the one that has the easy mode, so you don't have to have your face being beaten in the entire time. What kind of games do I play off camera? I don't. So, I don't know about the Pixel Remaster, so I can't speak to that personally. That's why I didn't even mention that. Haven't played it. Hasn't come out on the Switch yet. Anyways. So, hopefully it'll be better than the Switch Online thing. Moving on. Let's go ahead and shuffle over to random news. Digital Devolver Digital, I always screw that up, went public. Now, that's arguably not news. Most companies eventually go public, so that's cool. Everything's cool. It's pretty much officially the moment at which I stopped caring about Devolver Digital, to be completely blunt. If it's not obvious, the reason why that's a bad thing is because now they are beholden to shareholders who are probably not actually directly connected to the shareholding. This is actually a very complex topic, and I don't want to, go down the full rabbit hole here. All I'm going to say is that what this does is this adds another wrinkle to the management of any corporation that goes public. It's one of the downsides of going public. Now, the upside of going public The reason why most companies go public is because it generates a lot of immediate capital and can generate a lot of money from nothing, which is always something that companies want. Now, and I mean that by that, it's not me being facetious. If the perceived value of a company goes up, then their actual value can follow that. That's how that works. So they might have done nothing actually different, but their actual worth might have gone up, and they can make money for literally nothing. Yeah, as Crazy North says, this probably means they were probably having issues and probably needed that kind of cash infusion, which is a damn shame. I agree with Hazardous. Next E3 and their presentation, and more specifically their games, will probably tell us how this is going to affect them in the immediacy. We do know that NetEase bought into them, which is terrible, as did Sony. Those are the only two that I actually was able to find information on specifically. So, and yeah, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on that one, but Sony's not great, but NetEase is terrible. So anyways, thank you, Fife, very much. As always, much appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, NetEase is not good. I have nothing good to say about them. That's the simple summary version of that. Sony's okay. That's I only mention that because that's the only other people group that I know that bought into them. That's the only reason I even mentioned that. We'll see. We'll see. The effects of that will probably take a while to really go into fruition. This should not be here. This should be here. Meanwhile, speaking of bad news, Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 got delayed, quote-unquote, indefinitely, which is always just the worst word to use about that, because even though it's technically correct, everyone misunderstands it, because it is implied to mean something else. But yeah, Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 got delayed until they're done. Let's call that what that actually is. They may not come out. It is possible. And, no, not off the top of my head, Crazy Horse. So that's interesting news. Also, Jean O'Neill stepped down. I don't know how to pronounce her name. That's really bad. So I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with Actiblizzard again, because that's something that I just kind of keep doing every week, and I'm honestly kind of sick of talking about them. But to kind of give a quick run-through of why this is bad. So, she was brought in to be the co-head of the studio 3 months ago, and she just left. Please think about the timing of that for a second. And yeah, her resignation statement was bizarre. Like, I'm not going to read the whole thing on camera for you because it's a nice long thing, but it's just this... Like okay, here, I'll read this one section because this is hysterical. And I quote, I am doing this not because I am without hope for Blizzard. Quite the opposite. I'm inspired by the passion of everyone here working towards meaningful, lasting change with their whole hearts. This energy has inspired me to step out and explore how I can do more to have games with diversity intersect, and hopefully make a broader industry impact that will benefit Blizzard and other studios as well. While I'm not sure what form that'll take, I'm excited to embark on a new journey to find out. What? This is one of those beautiful statements that the more you parse that, the worse it sounds. Oh my god. Yeah, this... I'm so happy that you guys are going to do so much to make this work. That's why I'm leaving the company, even though I have hopes that things are going to get better here, because I want to make things better elsewhere, too. That's totally how this... Oh, my God. Yeah, no, that's bad. That is not good. And yeah, everyone in chat, I agree with the general consensus. It is either she's jumping ship or she was shoved out. And neither of those are a good thing. So, that's, Yeah, exactly. The best thing I could do for diversity in gaming is to leave to another company. Please really think about that sentence. I don't want to sensationalize, but I don't have to. She did it for me. So, moving on. I don't have anything else to say about that. It's just that train wreck and that company fire is still going. The legal thing is still just spinning its wheels right now. By the way, hang on. I actually do have one. No, we do not, Mike Romano. I do have one other little issue there. So, some people are aware of the fact that Actiblizzard stock plummeted recently. Now, what's really sad about that, and I don't mean to sound, mean, but Actiblizzard stock is not going down because of the lawsuit, and it's not going down because of anything that may or may not be happening allegedly in the company, and it's not even going down because she left. It's going down because Diablo and Overwatch got delayed, and WoW is just kind of flagging. Now, if you don't understand the significance of that, it's Activision, which does the Call of Duty series, Blizzard, which does all of its stuff, and King, which does Candy Crush. And guess which one of those three companies is not actually producing anything for the next fiscal year? That's why the stock went down. Because 1/3 of the company kind of stopped producing content. At least from a financial perspective. Obviously, they're still working, but you get my point, right? So, anyways, moving on. Meanwhile, I'm sorry. I look at my notes, and my next note is literally listed as Andrew Wilson continues to attempt human speech. So, Andrew Wilson, who is the CEO of EA, had a quote here about how blockchain and NFT is the future of the gaming industry. And I quote, "I think that in the context of the games we create and the live services that we offer," hate that phrase, collectible digital content is going to play a meaningful part in our future. So it's early to tell, but I think we're in a good position, and we should try to expect us to think more innovatively and creatively about that on a go-to-go basis. We want to be one of the key players in blockchaining, and they're currently hiring people at EA right now for people who are experts at NFTs and blockchains. Anyways, I'm just gonna leave that there and move on. Actually, no, I did. Nobody asked me about it, Crazy Norse. I did mention about how I think cryptocurrency is a net negative on like a societal level. And I don't mind saying that outside of Polemic Day, because I absolutely think that. I don't think it's a very polemic topic, but anyways. Moving on. Okay. I'm going to kind of back-to-back these a little bit here. FF14 Endwalker got delayed by 2 weeks. Now, actually, I've already commented on this, but this is Loreweek. My first knee-jerk immediate reaction to that was, why only 2 weeks? Take some time. Take your time. Don't crunch. Don't push it. Just push it out whenever you're ready. But that's just me, and I know that my opinion does not matter. So, they pushed it back for 2 weeks, and we've seen mostly support for that. That's cool. The only reason I'm even mentioning that is because Square Enix absolutely threw Crystal Dynamics under the bus last week. Now, I've actually looked into the creation of Marvel's Avengers a little bit. Just a little bit. This was a game that was never going to be good, to be as blunt as I possibly can about this. The problem is I can't summarize it. I can't actually summarize everything that was wrong with that game. The creation of it, the multiple studios that were involved in the production cycle, the multiple studios involved at the studio level, the amount of licensing fees that were being tossed around in order to make this happen at all, the fact that they were specifically trying to buy into the MCU without paying to be in the MCU. So there's this overwhelming feeling of being the MCU light, which didn't help anything. The fact that the game had a entire focus on the live service model, which was already, by the time the game was announced, was already kind of on a downswing when it came to public perception. And what's really sad is there's bones of decency in there. I mean, it's not like they didn't get some really nice, good voice actors involved, and it's not like they didn't spend their time and effort licensing all this stuff from the comics. It's just the really messed up part, though. The only reason I mentioned this is Marvel's Avengers, and I don't want to cast too much shade for people who like it or people who don't. I mean, I didn't even want to do that for Anthem, even though Anthem is one of the worst games I've ever reviewed. But the Marvel's Avengers is a massively disappointing game. As recently as about 3 months ago, has still not hit black. Which I should probably phrase that in a slightly less stupid way. They have yet to make back the money they spent on it. They have yet to break even. There we go. That's easy. They have yet to break even. Please think about that for a minute. Yeah, that's pathetic, is what that is. The problem here is the core problem. I said I couldn't summarize, but I think I could point to the biggest issue, and this is from the perspective purely of economics, is that they were willing to spend so much money on it because they presumed a certain level of income. Now, live services games have to do one of two things, broadly. They either need to be really cheap to make, or they need to make a stupid amount of money constantly. That is the nature of a live service game. Something like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV, which technically define themselves as live service games, bring in a huge amount of money, and that helps to keep those games cycling and running and keep the lights on and keep all that money being circled right back into development as well as the right places it shouldn't be. Make sense? Or you can just make an extremely cheap live service game that takes very little time and very little effort and very little upkeep to maintain and keep the content flowing. And then that way the relatively smaller amount of the trickle income you're getting is still enough to keep everything going and still enough to be profitable, okay? So they needed, and I have looked into this, they needed an absolutely huge amount of income in order to keep Marvel's Avengers live because of the aforementioned licensing problems I just talked about. Because they had to license all this stuff from Marvel and technically Disney, as well as hire these people, and all this is expensive, and they wanted to make it as big budget looking as possible. Please keep in mind that this was a waste of time and money. And I know what you're thinking. Wait, Lore, what do you mean? Well, what I mean is that Gary is awesome and cool and amazing and an incredible friend. He deserves credit for that. But, nice! Grats, dude. Bro fist in chat. Sorry. But what I mean by that is, again, you heard what I said earlier, right? Marvel's Avengers is MCU light. How many of you had that automatic reaction to that, or even still have that mentality, especially based on the original showing? Honest question. Now I gotta wait a moment. Well, I haven't even talked about the failed marketing. Turns out, when you pull a Fallout 76, it doesn't work very well. Yeah, no kidding, Jaluta. Part of the reason I mentioned this, you may or may not agree with this, but a lot of people tend to agree, and a lot of outlets tend to receive the same thing. So I'm presuming this is true. This is a presumption. But the public consensus was that this was the MCU light. Now, that's an automatic mentality of, oh, we're playing the off-brand version. Okay? For a game that they spent a huge amount of money making as detailed and polished and good-looking as they can. Do you see the problem here? Yeah, Diet Marvel is a great way to put that. Do you see the issue? They spent a huge amount of money trying to make this as high-quality looking of a game as possible, but there was a decent amount of public perception that looked at it as if it was Diet or Marvel, or, you know, or light brand or off-brand or whatever, right? And it's like, well, okay. And I point this out because that is the issue, the big issue. They spent so much money that they needed a huge amount of income coming in, and they just have not had it. Anyways, yeah, there's a decent chance that Marvel's Avengers will be shut down before I do a review of it. Did you know that it's actually on the list for run? It's nowhere near funded, it's just there on the list. And I've flat out reached out to the people who've put money towards it and said, look, if this gets the plug pulled, you know, how do you want to deal with that? And they're like, we'll just redirect. I'm like, okay. No, you're absolutely right, Larian. But you get my point. There was no fixing that, right? There's no fighting that. They can either spend even more money on the game to make it the actual MCU actors and to render their likenesses, which would have really increased the prices of the game, or they could have spent way less time, money, and effort on making it look as polished as possible, and maybe go for something more stylized. So, I don't know. Lego. This is not a joke. This is an actual suggestion. If they had made Marvel's The Avengers Lego, which would have involved one additional licensing fee, but would have massively reduced the cost of the production of the game, it still would be a crap game. I mean, sorry, it's a perfectly good game for people who like it, but it would still be a game I consider to be crap. But because of the aesthetic, there would be another group of people who'd be interested in it, and because it costs less, it would be more likely to reimburse its actual expenses. And yeah, I was going to say, anybody who's played the Lego Marvel games, which I have started playing recently because my niece really likes them, they're legit. And they're not high quality in terms of the graphics department or in terms of that stuff. They're high quality in terms of the core combat and the game and all that fun stuff, but yeah. Anyways, would have been an interesting move, but instead they decided to go the stupid route. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy seems to be doing a lot better. We'll see once that one's actually, out and produced and all that fun stuff, but we'll see. Either way, sorry, the actual news tidbit isn't actually about why they failed. It's about the fact, the game is still a financial flop. Let's just go ahead and say that's not presumption, that's fact. However, what really caught my attention about this is so we just had our quarterly meeting. I usually pay attention to these. Yasuke Matsuda, who is the president at Square Enix, there's the president, right? It's somebody who worked, it's president, it says rather, who was the president at Square Enix, had this whole thing where he just absolutely flung Crystal Dynamics under the bus. And speaking of someone who has actually looked into the behind the scenes of these games, or this game in particular, that is actually really unfair. Of all of the people who are trying to make a good game here, I think Crystal Dynamics gets the most of that. I think they were the most likely to actually be trying to make this game as good as possible and doing the best job they possibly can, and having everything going against them at every level. This is an ambitious title we took on for the games as service model. We overcame a variety of difficulties yet. Oh, by the way, it's also worth noting that one of the other big problems for the Marvel's Avengers, and this isn't anyone's fault, is COVID, which absolutely destroyed their ability. Did I mention that Crystal Dynamics were not the only group working on this game? Because they were coordinating with 4 other companies in the production of Marvel's Avengers in other nations during COVID. So anyways, I don't think Crystal Dynamics is Japanese. Let's look that up before I say that. Crystal Dynamics. Nope, this is here in the States. I thought so. Yeah, what's really funny was they made the 2 Tomb Raider reboot games, and then you remember this, right? And then they said, no, we're going to not make the 3rd Tomb Raider game. Why? No reason. They were working on Marvel's Avengers. That was the specific reason. And honestly, that's gotta suck, doesn't it? I feel so bad for those people, because they were pulled off of the franchise that they rebooted to go work on this thing, which again, regardless of the quality of the game, which does not matter, the fact of the matter is it has been a financial flop, and they're getting blamed for it. Is it 4th? God, I don't know. Hang on. So we got let's scroll down a little bit. We got Tomb Raider. Then we got Lara Croft, the Temple of Osiris. And then there's apparently something called Relic Run. Oh, that's on the phone. And then Rise of the Tomb Raider was them. Was it them? Yep, okay. What's the 3rd one? It's the 4th one, excuse me. Hang on. Now I gotta look this up. Yep, Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the one I'm thinking of. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the one I'm thinking of. So I guess it was 4, my bad. I had the number wrong, but I was still right. 3 Tomb Raider games, and then they... So, yeah, we actually reviewed Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It did not review very well, by the way. Just... Also, a fun little side note, several people who, you know, joined Crystal Dynamics for the production of the Tomb Raider series left Crystal Dynamics, coincidentally, right before the Marvel's Avengers came out. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, I just thought I'd mention it. Just... Anyways, so, before we move forwards, I'm right, Crazy Horse! They were pulled off of the series to work on Marvel's Avengers. I was accurate about my statement, so screw you. Thank you, Hediori, for the sub very much. I do always appreciate it. Also, I corrected myself, which makes me not a politician. If you know what you want to put that towards Hediori, please let me know. This Thursday, I think? Let's look at the night. Let's make sure we get the date right. This Wednesday. See, I was wrong. This Wednesday, Final Fantasy V Pixel Remaster comes out. Now, I don't care because it's not out on the Switch yet. However, one of the things we've done for the previous Pixel Remaster, see, Crazy North, see, is that we were doing a music comparison, a side-by-side comparison of the old music versus the new music. That was a widely requested feature and a widely beloved feature. There was one complaint I received pretty regularly, and that was that it dragged on too long, and I agree. I didn't realize it would take us like literally an hour and a half to go through all that music. Probably, at least partially because we're going through 3 versions of the songs, whereas with 5 and 6, we'll be going through 2. Whatever. Here's the thing. We're going to do that again because a lot of people want me to do that again, which means I got to not listen to the soundtrack. But what we're going to do to make it a little bit smoother, a little bit less frustrating, a little bit less irritating, is we're going to go ahead and part and parcel the music out more, which means I have to not listen to the soundtrack for an even larger period of time. Yay. But that's okay. I don't mind. I'm just joking. I'm just memeing. The truth is, I don't mind doing that because it'll make a better experience for the Loreweek, and it'll make the Loreweeks take less time. So, we will be listening to and comparing the songs from FF5 next Sunday. That'll be a week from today, and we'll be starting that, I should say, because we won't finish it in the week because we don't want to do it all in one thing. So we'll kind of spread it out a little bit. FYI. Also, I'm seeing Dune today, so we'll probably be discussing Dune a week from today. We'll see. Now to cancel Streaminations. Alright, so the next thing, oh, is that it? Hang on. Dune thing. Yep, that's everything. Alright, so several people requested this both publicly and in private, which is just really weird. I'm actually kind of confused by this, but apparently, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be confused by this. Some of you may remember that there's a game coming out in February, I think? When's this stupid game coming out? When are you coming out? No, I don't care. No, go away, go away, go away. It is February. February 25th, end of February, so March. Called Elden Ring. Now, apparently a lot of my viewers really like Soulsborne games. I don't know why exactly, because they're just such terrible, terrible games, obviously. But it's a really common thing. People have been asking me to comment on and discuss the Dark Souls series and the Bloodborns and all that for literally as long as I've had a show. In fact, there was a meme back before we were organized about this, back before this was my job, where I said if I went for 1 month without someone requesting me to do a rumination on Dark Souls, I'd go ahead and do a rumination on Dark Souls. It took something like 3 years to get there. I was true to my word. So, it's okay, we'll have Mexican food hazardous, that'll be nice. So Elden Ring, right? It's by the author who's, I think he's the good author, not the bad author. I'm pretty sure he's the good author, not the bad author. Right? He's the author of Game of Thrones. Of course, it doesn't even tell me here. As opposed to Uncle Vernon. Pretty sure it's the good author. Because I get the two confused for reasons that can only be attributed to my own stupidity. Yes, okay, so it's George R.R. Martin, yes. He's working on the story. They're working on the gameplay from Software. They've apparently been working on this for years at this point. And I'm not even counting the announcement. This game was also one of our earliest games funded under the funding games format. I will put that towards Riftbreaker, Cathorse. Thank you very much, as always. No, I'm just an idiot, Evo. I have no excuse for confusing Uncle Vernon with George R.R. Martin. And that's going to Riftbreaker. So... Yay. Oh, yeah, hang on. Let's go into it. So I just wanted all this preface here to explain why we're doing this, but also Just, it amuses me in historical context. I mean, it doesn't matter because I'm about to be covering the entire screen with this. It amuses me in historical context because as of right now, I think we have a grand total of 3 games that were funded originally when we first opened up the very concept of funding games. You know, other than just by requiring $60 for them. Let's see here. Elden Ring. Yeah. Literally 3. Baldur's Gate 3, Deltarune, and Elden Ring. None of which are out yet, funnily enough. A lot of requests, a lot of interests, and people have asked me to do a live watching of the thing. So we're doing a live watching of the thing. So Peggy 16. Oh my god, that's a little loud. Let's turn that down a bit. There we go.
Hello everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. In this video, we'll show some footage of our new action RPG, Elden Ring.
Okay.
We hope it helps to convey a little of this title's mood and gameplay.
Its mood is depressing, and its gameplay is kick you in the face while depressing you. Got it. Yep, looks like Dark Souls.
Elden Ring is set here, in the lands between.
It really does.
This is a site of grace, acting as a place of rest for the player. Occasionally, grace will manifest rays of guiding light.
Okay.
Of course, we're free to choose whether to follow this guidance, or head off to explore in a different direction.
First of all, mounts. Yes, I'm with it. Why do people want to see my face? Who wants to see my face? Alright, fine. If you want to see my face, we'll go down here. Hang on a second. We'll just do this. There. Now you can see my face. There. You happy? What the hell are those? Some ugly nobody near his ass. Ignore him. Yeah, no, it's totally a bonfire. So, can we fight on horseback? Or, excuse me, goatback. Looks like a yes. Which actually sounds pretty cool, but it's worth noting that an extremely small number of games actually get fighting on horseback correctly, so how that controls is going to determine that one, I think. Yeah, as I say, this looks a lot like Sekiro. In a good way, I liked Sekiro. Just because I couldn't beat it without cheating doesn't mean I didn't like the game. No! That looks like the mechanic from Bloodborne. I can't think of the name of it right now. The brutal, visceral attacks, whatever they were. Oh, here, let me turn it up if I can.
You hear me? Help me. I'm stuck. Hello? Please, anyone. Oh, my stars. I'm so happy to see you. I am Alexander, also known as the Iron Fist. And as you can see, I'm stuck here. Please, can you help me out of this?
I'm not sure how
Those doubts to rest. I'll be just fine. I'm very well trained. Give it your all, I say.
Okay.
Well played, good sir. Well played. Though that mighty wallop of yours almost spelled the end of me.
Okay. NPCs are good. What's with the giant tree motif? You notice that? There's these golden trees periodically. What do you want to bet we're going to be going around and, like, slowly watching them rot? Or making them rot, because that's what all these games involve. I'm guessing that this is like Dark Souls 1.
The map can prove useful when
In fact,
exploring.
hang on just a second. First of all, oh my god, there's a map? But second of all, who else is... Whoops. Who else is getting the Dark Souls 1 vibe specifically here? I guess Sekiro did this too, so I could give that to Sekiro as well. You know, that's all terrain you can get to thing, right? That they didn't really do in Dark Souls 2, and they definitely didn't do in Bloodborne. I don't remember if they did it in 3. I don't know if it's me. But yeah, it feels like this is the area you could go to. Of course, we have the swamp. You could see it down there in the middle. And you can go to the cliff sides on the left. And I'm guessing these trees are going to be like, that's a vague, what do they call that? There's a term for that, like a lighthouse. I forget what they call that in game design, but it's something that's supposed to draw your eye to incline you to go in that direction. It's also a way to center yourself, so you always know where the lighthouse is, so you always know where you are in relation to it. We've talked about this when it comes to game design, like a landmark, yeah.
The map can prove useful when exploring.
Trees are on the map, too.
And is populated by acquiring map fragments.
Yeah, I see the parts of the map that aren't there on the right there. We can set our own markers, that's nice.
We can use markers to customize the map, such as setting reminders for the location of crafting materials or dangerous enemies.
Crafting, okay. It's always worrisome.
Beacons can also be placed to help with orientation.
Also, I hate to say this, but it looks like, so I notice on the controls down there at the bottom, one of them says Site of Grace list, and I'm pretty sure the sites are the bonfires. I find myself wondering, so obviously that could just be a way to list all of the bonfires you have access to. I wonder if that could be a fast travel system. Now, if you don't understand the distinction, Dark Souls games don't have fast travel. They have waypoints, which is different. And the distinction is, a waypoint system is you go to a waypoint and then you can warp to any other waypoint. A fast travel is from wherever you are, you warp to a waypoint. And you see the distinction? And I wonder if this is going to have that, based on the fact that you can just pull up a list of where you've unlocked and then just warp there. That would be kind of neat, actually. And is the kind of thing I'm generally in favor of when it comes to game design. Obviously, you usually can't do it in combat. Or, given how FromSoft games happen, what's probably going to happen is going to be like a 10-second animation of slowly getting ready to warp away, and then you do it, right? That's another way to do that kind of thing, so you can't do it in combat unless you get lucky. Whoop, hang on, what was that?
To help with orientation.
Also, apparently one of the things we can see is our multiplayer status. What the hell does multiplayer status mean?
Beacons placed on the map appear in the world.
I do like the beacon concept, I always have. Not a lot of games do beacons, but I like beacons as a concept. I suppose I should talk about this, because it's such a rare concept. You put down a marker on a specific spot of the map, and then there's this really massive shine of light that spawns there. And so you can just use that as a way to orient yourself and to navigate towards that spot, right? This really is Breath of the Wild.
Spirit springs can be used while on horseback to launch high into the air.
Yeah, Batman did that,
This allows for stress-free traversal of areas with a great deal of verticality.
There's a couple Crazy Norse. Diablo 3 comes to mind, but not many. We apparently have something like of a double jump in the mount. No, maybe not. It's a full double jump. Gotta have the binoculars. I wonder if it makes us run faster.
The carriage over there is carrying treasure. An opportunity too good to pass up.
I agree, Dream Whisperer. And I agree with
We prepare
Noses.
for combat with
Oh, hang on. So let's take a look here. So there's us, our level, runes held. Bet you that's experience, blood, souls, whatever. Vigor, mind, endurance, strength, dexterity, intelligence, faith, arcane. Pretty standard. HP, FP, stamina. Pretty standard. Equipment load. Looks like weight's coming back. I'm not sure what I think of that. I wonder if it's going to affect our, our iframes. We do straight up have a poise stat, you'll notice. As well as a discovery stat, no idea what that means, and a memory slots. Don't know what that means. They're both empty on his screen here. Looks like we do have a bank of some kind, if you can look at this. because while we can hold 40 of these thin animal bones on us, we can also store 600 of them. I'm guessing that's pretty much like the Bloodborne thing that we already saw there, so that's kind of cool. I'm with that. Also looks like you can only hold so many at a time, which, as weird as this sounds, is something I'm really in favor of and always have been. The idea behind how do you limit inventory in combat without making it without limiting inventory in general. And what you do is you limit how much you can bring in combat. And once you leave combat, you refill it from your actual inventory. So you can carry 99 potions on you, but you got 4 potions in combat, right? I've always felt that's a very good in-between approach to that, and a lot of games get that wrong. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting off topic.
Item crafting, using materials found in the world.
So here's crafting. So I hate to disagree with you, Von Falkenstein, but that flat out says consumable right there. And you can throw it at an enemy to inflict damage. So...
crafting.
Now, you're right about this, the fact that this is a crafting thing, because we can actually see it right there and see, okay, so that takes 2 bones, 1 pinion, and 1 lily to do that. But we can make 10. Of course, we already have 10 sleep bone arrows, which are fletched, apparently. That's interesting. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts does that as well. It's one of the better ideas of Kingdom Hearts. Now, do we have a thing we could glide down? No, it looks like we don't. That's okay. That's a long arrow. Can we retrieve it? Nope. I know it's crafting. I know it's crafting. You're right, it's crafting. Moving on.
Enemy stance can be broken with heavy strikes, such as when attacking from above.
No, see, that's why I said I was getting off in the weeds. I like that idea of how many you can hold, how many you can use. It's just, I was speculating just because that was the direction my mind was going. Obviously, that was saying that we have 6 items and we need 2 to do it. It's just crafting. So, that's an interesting attack.
A variety of unique attacks can also be interchanged between weapons.
Treasure. Wait a minute. This can't be a Souls game. That took too little time to open that treasure chest. And it wasn't a mimic.
In more perilous situations, we can summon spirits to assist us in battle. Spirits vary greatly in type, so we look forward to players experimenting and finding their personal favorites.
Dual wielding is in. Hang on, I want to watch that again if that's okay, because there's a lot of little details being showcased there really quickly. Because obviously we have the arrow, and of course a flame arrow. We've got the two-handed sword, the two-bladed sword,
and finding their personal favorite,
which we can hit from both ends exactly as it should be. And we can actually dual wield like that. But the other thing that caught my attention there is it looks like. Sorry to do this, but it looks like we have, in this case, it looks like he summoned 1 really little guy, 3 medium guys, 1 of which has a sword and board, and 1 big guy with a big old club. Fair enough, Hazardous.
Spirits vary greatly.
So, like, there's one of the normal guys with the sword, and he's just got a sword, but you can see the little guy rushing up to attack on the side, little rat-looking dude. And then there's the sword and board guy, who has aggro, it's worth noting, so I wonder if that's going to be a thing.
And finding their personal favorite.
And then, okay, he misses, but you can see the big club guy who's probably going to be your stunner. So I can already see a lot of possibilities just from these few seconds here. This is all speculative, of course, but that looks awesome. Damn it, I don't want to get excited about this, because I'm just going to hate the game by the last quarter of it. That's how it always works.
Online multiplayer can also be enjoyed with players from other worlds, from cooperative to PvP and invasions.
Okay, what's the limits? Yeah, by the way, dual-wielding spears. Rax. Just point it out. Actually, no, that's not a spear. That's like a... What is that? Is that a scepter? Still, I'm pretty sure you can dual wield spears.
Deadly creatures stalk this forest, so we'll use stealth to avoid detection.
Stealth is a thing. Yeah, it looks like a scepter. The more I'm looking at it, you can kind of see it there. Unfortunately, I'm not hearing the details I really need to
Come
hear.
across a boss guarding this area. We'll take it on with the help of our co-op partner.
Spear and scepter sounds like a cool combo, but you notice we swapped out for a shield. Oh, there we go, there you go. That's what it is. It's a frickin' staff. It's a magic staff. We can also shield and spear. That might be my playstyle right there, by the way. Stab and shield. Notice the other person has this giant frickin' two-handed axe. Oh, I like that spell. I like that spell a lot. That's a nice AoE. Boss has some nice AoE too, but you notice, did we block that? Hang on. We did block that. We got staggered by it, but we still blocked it. Another spell, by the way. Showing off some magic. Kamehameha. So that's, I'm sorry, can we watch that again? That's some, this is clearly a magic showcase. And I want to see more of that. So we've got basic magic missiles. Looks like that's our auto attack. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't even notice that. She's wielding that 200 axe one-handed. She's got a buckler in her other hand. Do you see that? She was actually... Here, watch. Watch the beginning of this fight. She's actually blocking at the beginning. Right there. Do you see that? She blocked the fire attack. And then she comes in with the two-hander. Okay, so then we have... Which one's this? This is the big cross AoE. Yep, right there. You can see it actually makes an X kind of a thing on the ground. There's his big attack, which we block. I still can't believe we blocked that. I won't be doing that, of course, because it's against my religion. So we got this attack. It looks cool, but the important part is it's a cone. It's a nice big cone, too. And then we've got the beam, which it looks like does damage. Yep, periodically as it's going through them. Interesting. No, I saw that hazardous. It moved as after I said it's an X. It wasn't. So I'm an idiot. I'm just wrong about everything today. Don't mind me. And I think that's officially no fall damage. It's something I was questioning before, but I think that's definitive. Which also helps with verticality and exploration, by the way. Zelda added the glide. Here they just get rid of fall damage. I'm in favor of both of those, by the way. Respawn all the enemies.
Catacombs, caves, mines, and other dungeons can be found while out exploring the world.
Ha!
These
I'm sorry, watch the skeleton. Watch what he does. Like, hang on, is my head here? Yep, okay, we're good.
These dungeons each hold their own secrets, from hidden treasures to fearsome bosses.
Okay. We're gonna Indiana Jones this sucker. Hey, Dakota. Showing off Elden Ring a bit here. What we got left? Oh, we got like 10 minutes left. We got tons of time. Is it sad that I keep noticing all the loot he's walking by? Is it a mimic? It is not a mimic, okay. Yeah, no, end of February. Effectively March. We'll be playing it a week later, by the way. The poll result's already in. Gotta have the waist be woman. It's mandatory for these games.
Greetings,
Sorry, I'll shut up.
traveler from beyond the fog. I am Melina. I offer you an accord.
Make a contract with me. Sorry. The beautiful woman offers you a contract.
We
Say
reach
no.
Stormvale Castle, a large-scale dungeon which connects seamlessly with the surrounding Limgrave region.
So, distinction between catacombs and dungeons, then. Which is something I was wondering about.
You there? Come over here, would you?
Thank you, Sonic Doctor. Sorry. Tell me what you want to put it towards.
You're tarnished, aren't you? I would advise against taking the main gate.
I'm sorry, what? Hang on, I need to hear what he said against it. Sonic, what do you want to put it towards? Quick. Okay, deal with choice. Got it. Okay, thank you again very much. Let's listen to what he said, because that sounded interesting.
You're tarnished, aren't you?
Okay, so that's what he said, tarnished. Apparently, we're going to be yet another version of undead / hunter / whatever.
I would advise against taking the main gate into the castle. It's tightly guarded by hardened old hands. Oh, try the opening right here. The guards don't know about it. You'll breach the castle undetected.
Okay. No.
Fair enough. You certainly don't have to trust me. Well, if you must go through the gates, I'll signal them to open. But of course, I'd advise against it. The gates! Open the gates!
He's ignoring loot. You can tell it's me. Oh, that was fun.
The main route
Estes.
seems risky, so we'll try entering through a back way.
He keeps ignoring the loot. Huh. So that's an interesting weapon skill. I'm guessing that's not a full-on spell, but it could be one of those memories we were talking about earlier. I noticed that jumping can go up. I noticed that. Like, you caught that, right? In fact, here, I'm sorry, let's rewind a second just so you could really catch the significance of that, because this changes platforming. See that? Yeah, I'm hoping they push the Sekiro mobility, because that's one of the things I like best about that game. Okay, switches, charges, and it's done. That's really quick, too. Fairly typical stun / attack thing. We do still have clear showcasing the fact that there are iframes. There probably were, but it's nice to know it. It's nice to see it. Just gonna ignore those people.
Extra care should be taken when...
I'm sorry, 1 second. Yep, there's a lock-on. The reason I mentioned that is I was wondering how he aimed that, but you'll notice it very clearly snaps to the enemy and then shoots the bow. Like that.
Extra care should be taken when moving through dungeons, as visibility and terrain differ from when in the open. We hope players enjoy getting a feel for the different types of areas and coming up with suitable strategies for each.
It looks like they kind of want platforming to be a thing in general. You caught that. Which the new jump would apply to. Hello. Boss. Bunch of corpses dangling. It's a Souls game. For the playtesting Plutonia, they probably just have one of those, max out stat kind of deals, so he can just use spells and abilities whenever he needs to for the sake of the recording. And there's more of that what did I just say? Platforming. There's also a tree right next to or in the castle. I don't quite have the depth perception to tell there. Not sure if it's our destination or not. But yeah, lack of invisible walls, which is always good.
Dungeons are complex and multi-layered, meaning they can be tackled from a number of routes.
Yeah. Yeah, the crouching, of course, and part of the sneaking. Has sneaking been in this? I mean, obviously we can sneak to some enemies, but I mean, straight up stealth.
Ah, nice to meet you. The pleasure's mine. Roger is the name. A sorcerer, as you might have guessed. I'm looking for a little something here in the castle. When I'm not hot-footing it from the troops, that is. But enough about me. What are you doing here in Stormvale Castle? This place is bristling with tarnished hunters, you know. They sacrifice our kind for grafting. Not exactly a place I'd stroll into without a purpose in mind.
What's grafting, and why do they need to sacrifice people for it, I wonder? Birds, because of course there's birds. I keep waiting to see if we see a dog. The healing is clearly Estus, though. Earlier he actually did 2 chugs in a row, and the animation stayed up waiting for him to finish. It did it just there, too, even though he only used 1. Boss.
In this next boss
Bog.
fight, we challenge one of the demigods, ruler of Stormvale, Godric the Golden.
Well, that explains the corpse spider earlier, Sonic Doctor. You're thinking of grifting, I think, Crazy Norris.
Mighty dragon, thou'rt a true-born heir. Lend me thy strength, O kindred. Deliver me unto greater heights. Well, lowly tarnished, plain as a lord. I command thee, kneel! I am the lord of all that is golden.
Rose. So we do have whatever that's called. Weapon buffs. Oh, he's a fast one, isn't he? Looks like spirits can take hits. I was wondering about that. And die. Looks like he grafts the dragon's head onto his hand. That's always neat. That's phase 2, clearly. Same attack, but slightly different thing with the dragon there. Grapple. That's probably going to hurt a little bit.
Thank you for watching.
Oh, is that it? That is
It's
it.
just a brief introduction to Elden Ring's fundamentals, but more details will be revealed at a later date. There's not long to go now before release. In the meantime, we greatly appreciate your continued support.
The tarnish.
Yep, okay. Well, that's that's Elden Ring. A lot caught my attention, but I will also admit that a lot didn't actually answer any of my questions, because there were several things that made me go, how does the multiplayer work? How does the invasion work? How does the PvP work? How much does what cost? Is spells something you get specifically from the weapon? Is it something you can equip regardless of the weapon? I have many questions. And I forgot to turn off the browser thing. I'm still here, I swear. I guess we'll find out in like 5 months or whatever that is. Like I said, we're going to be playing it a week after. We'll be playing on a PC, by the way, for anybody who wants to co-op with that. Just if on the off chance that it actually matters. At least I'm pretty sure this is coming out on PC. Let me double check something real quick. Pretty sure I double checked that. Because if I didn't, then I have not done my due diligence. I'm pretty sure I've already bought it on Steam, but let me triple check here. There it is, Elden Ring. Yep, there we go. Wait a minute, this says February 24th! They lied to me. Yeah, it doesn't say. Whatever. Like I said, that's the version we'll be playing, is the Steam version specifically, because, duh. No showcasing a story, which doesn't surprise me since this was a gameplay showcase, Mike Tomato, is specifically the purpose of it. Let's just looking at a couple things here while I'm here. Looks like nothing new. Mostly stuff we just saw. There's a crystal cave, that's always important. There's a magma giant, that's very important. You gotta have magma giants. It's very important. Listen, there's no such thing as lying, and it doesn't work that way. Mature content description may include violence or gore. Oh yeah, something they've said several times, I don't know about this with certainty, is that they are going back to the Dark Souls character customization instead of the Bloodborne character customization, so we'll see. And yeah, I'm curious how they're going to handle it. Is magic going to use stamina? Is it going to be its own thing? Are there going to be charges? Like, I have a lot of questions about the specifics of mechanics, and I suppose we'll have to wait for that, because this is all we got right now. It looks cool, I'll admit it. Now to play FF14 for 10 hours. Level, oh my... No. Now we do our streaminations. So,